Okay, so by request, I am going to talk about my machine today. Ah, it's my Juki 5550, and a lot of times you'll hear it called a 550, but this is my straight stitch. I do own probably 10 different sewing machines. As you may or may not know, in the commercial environment, sewing machines are very, very specific. So this is a straight stitch. That's all it does. It'll go straight. You can hit reverse with this little thing right here, and it'll go in reverse. And it'll wind the bobbins. But no fancy stitches, no zigzags, no nothing. Just the straight stitch. So I figured I would just show you this. I would show you the type of needles I would use. I would show you the knee lift, and also how to thread it. So here goes. Okay, so the sewing table has a handy dandy drawer here, and I can pull out my tools and my needles that I need, and I kind of have them bagged up here. I like to write on the bag exactly what they are, because you know how they do this. Like, who can make sense of that, right? Okay, so that BP means ballpoint, and that 10 means it's a size 10. So I just cut to it like that. Okay, so I do use the organ needles. I like those. And let me show you how I put them on my machine. This is my pin cushion that I made, and I hot glued it to the top of my machine. You'll see a lot of times seamstresses will kind of like wrap almost like a sock or something around their machine and just kind of jab their needles in there, their pins and needles in there. Mine's hot glued. I glued some magnets on here for my razor so that when I'm working I can just quickly, I literally like fling it on there and take it off. It's super fast. The other thing is I labeled, I don't know why that's there, I labeled my pin cushion. So you'll see here my 9 ballpoints, my 14, and then here's my 18s. That way I can reuse them. Like if I only need to use my 9 for a few minutes, I can take it off of the machine, put it back on, put it back in here. And reuse it. So anytime before you reuse a needle, you always want to kind of stroke away from the point. If you feel any type of drag, you need to throw that thing in the trash, because it's not worth pulling the fabric. If you're not sure what you're feeling for, compare what you're feeling to a brand new needle, and then that will let you know. Then obviously I keep my other needles in here too. The most commonly used needle for myself is a size 1 sharp. I like to use those. They're very, very strong for bridal. They can really go through stuff. And I'll show you right here. This is what I like. Large eye needles, size 1 sharp. Love it. And they come like that. So that's my favorite needle, and those are my sewing machine needles. Alright, so the next thing is the foot that I like to use the most. Is I like to use, believe it or not, that's an invisible zipper foot. They're not like home sewing machine foot, the feet that you like slide the thing back and forth on. These you actually swap out your foot. So if you can see the shape of that, and you can see that notch where the needle goes through, the needle can get very, very close to this foot. So it can be extremely accurate. So I love this. You can imagine, can you picture like sewing a seam along the top of the bodice of a dress, just how close you can get. And then the side of the foot kind of helps you visually gauge things as well. Not just the numbers on the plate, but you can gauge things with the foot. So most commonly I will be swapping out my left and right zipper foot. That's usually what I sew on. I almost never even use the all-purpose foot that the machine came with. I have a size 18 in here right now. I do want to talk about the different sewing machine needle sizes and what I use them for, but I'm going to put that in a different video because this video I want to focus on specifics for this machine. Now I want to talk about threading it, and I want to talk about threading it, and it's going to be kind of hard to see. And as anybody who follows me knows, I always have my handy dandy black felt nearby, so that if something's hard to see, I can just put it behind it. So anyways, here goes. You're going to take your thread and you're going to loop it up here, and you're going to bring it down here. Okay, I want you to get a good look at that. Okay, so I'm going to be bringing the thread in through the back and then looping it around through that little tensioner. Okay, and you can see how this goes through. See that? Bring it down. I'm going to go into this hook, loop it around, hook it onto this little springy hook, bring it down under here, bring it up through there, bring it back down, loop it through here, and you're gonna put it through here, just so you like whip it around there. Bring it, can you see that hole? Put it through that little hole, and then, yeah, you can see that. The thread goes from left to right. A little hint, this little notch in the needle should always face the bobbin. And the bobbin in here, I need to show you that as well. The bobbin faces this way. So, can you picture that? Because it's underneath, just like this. Then that means you want this little notch to be facing where the bobbin is. I hope that makes sense. All right, so to put the bobbin in the bobbin casing, I always think of the number 9. Your thread's looping like this. Put it in here. It's gonna go, see that? It's gonna go in that little notch, and you're gonna pop it up through here and go right over that. Yes. There you go. You can always check your thread tension and your bobbin by, if you kind of bounce it just a little bit, you should feel it go, like, drop down some. Should feed just a little bit. It should not just like run away. It shouldn't just roll away. That's too loose if that's what it does. And if it doesn't go down any, then you know that it's too tight. And your tension adjustment is this screw right here. You see that right there? Just use a little tiny screwdriver, righty tighty lefty loosey, and you can actually see the screw push this down or let it come up. It does this number when you loosen or tighten it. Very, very obvious when you're doing it. So that's how you adjust the tension on the bobbin. And just a little factoid, most of the time when people say their sewing machine is broken and the bobbin thread is bird nesting underneath the fabric, you know, when you get like a big clump on the underside of the fabric and you're like, what's wrong with this? Most of the time it's just their bobbin tension is messed up and needs to be adjusted. Okay, so your bobbin is the same thing. You saw the 2 cones before. But the cone on the right is going to bring the thread down. It's going to go in this little hole. It's going to loop around through these little tensioner discs. It's going to come across through here, and it's going to wrap on this. If this were an empty bobbin case, I'll just show you how we would put that on. Okay, we're going to go like this. And I'm going to run it through one of those holes, and you're going to push that forward, okay? So when you start sewing, you're just going to hold this for a second while you're sewing. And once it starts winding up, you'll feel the tension. You can just let go of it and it'll run off. So when it gets full, it's gonna pop itself back. And here's the knee lift. So basically it just works like this. You just do an outward press with your leg, and that's going to lift the presser foot and take the tension off of things for you. It'll take the tension out of here for you and lift this. Now we use this, of course, when we're putting fabric in or taking fabric out of this. We also use it when we're doing some free motion sewing, and I do have another video about that. It's my video about sewing the lace appliques to the hem of the wedding gown, so you will be able to see the presser foot in action, how that works. Now this is going to seem a little obvious, but I just want to go over it. Okay, power switch on. It also controls the lamp. See that? Power switch on. And then down under here you'll see the motor it's a whole separate piece. For sewing machines, commercial sewing machines, this is called the head, and that's the motor there. They're two separate pieces. And typically, as long as you're oiling like you should and not mistreating the head, as far as wear and tear, I think you would expect to replace this pulley first, probably. The belt, the belt that goes on that pulley. You can see how that cranks. You would expect to replace that, and then perhaps even replace the motor before you would actually have to replace the head of the machine. That's normally about how long they last. So that's the configuration under there. Excuse all my extension cords. Girls got to get power. And then here's the foot pedal. I know it's massive compared to home sewing machines, right? Yep. But hey, it works. And you're not fighting, you know, like home sewing machines, you're like pawing around, fighting with this thing, trying to keep your little foot pedal in place. This thing is bolted down and you can hit anywhere on it and you're good to go.